Hey guys, what's up? This is Mike. So I'm here with another review, the comic review. Actually, I'm gonna be doing Captain America #1. I actually have two covers for this. I have two issues actually. I have the normal nut cover and I have the blank variant, both signed by Steve McNiven right there. And I'm gonna be doing a review of issue 2. So a little background information. So the creative team for Captain America #1 is Ed Brubaker and Steve McNiven. Steve McNiven is he's very famous. A lot of people know him for he was the artist for Civil War, probably the best-selling comics in the last 10 years. Civil War #1 and #2, and Ed Brubaker is one of the most acclaimed writers in comics as of now. He's been writing Cap for a long time. I think since 2004-ish, like a long time. Like it's been a while. He's also written Daredevil and Iron Fist, so he has experience writing a whole bunch of different heroes. And Captain America used to be have just Captain America. It used to be a longer running series, been issues in the 600. It was starring Captain America's partner Bucky Barnes as Captain America. Many of you know Bucky took up the mantle after Steve was killed, and Steve came back, and yada yada. Well, so after Bucky was arrested and put in the gulag and escaped, the series sort of split off into two, two books. This Captain America, written by Ed Brubaker and drawn by Steve McNiven, and Captain America and Bucky, also by Brubaker, and art by Chris Samney, I believe. So yeah, this started with a whole new numbering system, and the other one kept the old numbering system. I believe it's up to like issue 630 something or something crazy like that. Yeah, so I'm gonna start off with a review of Captain America #1. Start off. So this issue starts off with actually a funeral, other than the Marvel splash page that gives the backstory of Captain America. It starts off with the funeral, and Steve is sort of remembering like his history, how he grew up during the war, how he was sort of became into his own person during the war, and how he hasn't had much time to relax. As ever since being unfrozen, he's been facing a lot of evil, Hydra, Ultron, the Skrulls, you know, then in Siege, he's been constantly fighting. And we realize this funeral is for an old flame of his, Peggy Carter, who many of you know is his sweetheart during the war. So Steve attends her funeral in France with Dum Dum Dugan, Nick Fury, and Peggy's niece Sharon Carter. They're just all having a sort of a touching moment when Dum Dum Dugan's almost shot by a sniper. Steve tackles him out the way and proceeds to chase this dude. And by chasing, when he chases him across the highway, Steve notices this dude's fast, almost as fast as him, and he's Captain America. He's a super soldier. The man turns around and Steve recognizes him, and the dude blows up a car and escapes on a motorcycle. Steve gets back up and tells Nick, he's like, we have a problem. Jimmy Jankovich has woken up. We then proceed to a flashback back in 1944, I believe. Back when Nick was younger, he was still Sergeant Fury. Peggy's there, Peggy Carter. This is back during the war. Cap, Steve, and the man that we saw Steve chasing. We find out this man is named Codename Bravo, and they had a mission to sneak into Hydra, which was just emerging. They're apparently an offshoot of the SS. They have advanced tech that could change the tide of the war, and they couldn't let that happen. We also get introduced to Jimmy Jankovich. He's a young boy, and Nick tells them that he's their key to getting in and out of the Hydra base, like, undetected. When we then flash back to present day, we see Jimmy Jankovich. He's an old man, he's in a wheelchair, and he's apparently in a vegetative state. Essentially, he's unresponsive. We find out that Nick was supposed to receive any news about him waking up, but S.H.I.E.L.D. doesn't exist, so they couldn't tell anyone. And then we find out a little more about Codename Bravo after this. He was a super soldier, essentially. that had a had a thing with Peggy Carter, but Cap apparently stole her away. Um, he was an American. He was given experimental treatment by the British and sort of got superpowers. But Nick comments that regardless of that, Steve was still stronger, faster, and younger than him, and that's why Peggy sort of like fell for Steve because Steve was just a better man, I guess. It's a little weird. It's sketchy at best. Steve then gets attacked, shot in the back by like a laser beam or missile, and he shrugs it off because his shield. He's wearing his shield and uniform under his clothes, which is also a little weird. Him, Nick, and Sharon proceed to fight off these Hydra agents, and they escape. They kidnap Jimmy Jankovich, and Steve realizes it's like this was their plan to follow them to Jimmy and capture him. We don't really know why, but Steve is. We see after they escape, we see Steve. Not Steve. Agent. Codename Bravo, Agent Bravo, whatever you want to call him, Bravo. He's meeting with someone from Hydra, and it's Baron Zemo, and they toast to their alliance about killing Captain America, and that's what the show ends. So story-wise, let's get right into it. The story is very solid. It's not really meant, I believe, like personally, I feel for people who are new to Captain America, it feels a little like heavy on like knowing the continuity of it, of like Captain America, to follow this. Like, you don't really know who Dum Dugan is. People don't really know who Nick Fury is. People don't know who Sharon Carter is. But you know, everyone knows Cap or Baron Zemo. Like, these characters don't really have a good introduction. So this is for a book for people who already know Captain America, or the mythology at least, or just have a gist of like Captain America and some of the characters. But if you do know Captain America, this is a great book for starting off with. Ed Brubaker is a great storyteller. He knows like how to write Steve Rogers, and I feel that his Steve Rogers stories are better than his Bucky Barnes stories. I like Bucky as Cap, don't get me wrong, but Steve I felt was better. Other than that, from there, story-wise, yeah, great. It's not a good introduction to the Cap, but you know, it builds upon like Cap's history and a lot of things that people would know about Cap, World War II, things like that. Other than that, he writes all the characters very well. I love the way he writes Captain America. Captain America is gritty. He even though he's been living in the 21st century, you know, he still has this old mentality about being a warrior. When Nick Fury is like gets caught in an explosion and you know is sort of drowsy, Captain America, you know, protects him. Is like, get on your feet, soldiers, like things like that. Like, Captain America is that leader. He can inspire people to stand up, both figuratively and literally. So story-wise, but it's a solid story. Like, even though with the introduction of new characters, like, it's very interesting about where this is going. Art-wise, Stick McNiven's art is actually really, really good. I personally don't like Civil War, but because I don't like Mark Miller or his writing in general. Like, his writing's like iffy at best for me. But I like Mark Miller 50-50, like it's half the time. But Steve McNiven's art is probably he's one of the best artists like around. His Cap is very solid. He draws his Cap, you know, what you expect a superhero to be. He has that square jaw. He's very big. He's very you know, just he has this imposing figure that, you know, inspires like courage from your allies or fear from the enemies. And not only that, the way he draws Cap on his shield, it's been a while since we've seen, you know, old school shield slinging from anyone. Like, Bucky's been in prison forever, so you know, Cap throwing the shield around is just amazing. I like the way he draws it. It shows the shield bouncing around cars, bouncing off everything essentially, and just taking people out, which is very impressive. So otherwise, this issue is a good issue for just start. Even if you don't know Captain America, you know, give it a try. It's a good issue to start off with. Regardless, you know, you always take your time to look up. Like, you know, you could look up these characters. Nothing is like too hard to find anymore. So I'm giving this issue a 4 out of 5. It's actually really good. I usually don't buy 2 covers, but I bought 2 because I like having the blank variant. And just the original cover is actually really nice. I like it a lot. So yeah, 4 out of 5. So I'm gonna start off with issue number 2. It basically issue number 2, Captain America. It starts off by with these guys, Dum Dum Dugan, Sharon Carter, Cap, and Nick. They're in a plane, and basically, actually no, that's wrong. It actually starts off with Cap walking around in a frozen wasteland, and once again he's talking to himself, and he's like, wouldn't it be funny if Cap frozen in a wasteland? Sort of because that's what happened to him. Um, and then we move on to Cap in a plane. He's basically talking to Nick and Sharon, and Nick explaining who Jimmy Jankovich is, aka Jimmy Jupiter, what's he also known by. That he could alter. He had the ability to control like a space in between reality. He could open a portal in there and then like travel in there. He's Nick theorizes that he was one of the first mutants, or like an early mutant. Not many people know. This kid actually reminds me a lot of Franklin Richards. The ability to manipulate reality in his own world, and basically he was a master of it. And he got caught when he started bringing things out. Another thing that they mentioned is that Jimmy could touch people's dreams, and by touching people's dreams, he can open a portal to that location. Another like actually very cool and interesting power. I like the way Brubaker creating this character who has these this actually very cool powers. So the basic plan for their mission for their Hydra assault was that Jimmy would open a portal, to the Hydra base through his world. They would go in, destroy all the tech, and leave through the same portal. Steve sort of is like, we failed that mission, and he's like, Bucky would have seen that he's sort of, still doubting them because Bucky Barnes was killed in Fear itself. Many people already know this, but so they explained that when they were storming the base, a codenamed Cap, Bucky, and Peggy assaulted the base. Agent Bravo went through the portal with a couple of soldiers, and Jimmy Jupiter was attacked by a spy. He gets knocked out by like this big piece of metal. Dum Dum kills the spy, but the portal closes, and these people were trapped in the Nowhere Land. I believe that's what Jimmy called it, Nowhere Land. No, yeah, the land of nowhere. That's what he called it. He basically gets trapped, and they don't really know how long, like how time works in that place. It could have been years, it could have been centuries. They were basically trapped in this reality where things like anything could happen. So basically, they're in the plane on their way to where they believe they took Jimmy, and they get shot at. Cap jumps out the plane, throws his shield at the Hydra agents, trying to shoot them. He literally jumps on a plane, lands on a car, and starts beating the crap out of everything, because he's Cap. Nick Fury, Sharon, and Dum Dum, they parachute in, and they all start taking down Hydra agents. We then see the new Madam Hydra, or she might be the current Madam Hydra. There's been a lot of them in front of a portal, and they're like, they have a plan to, to finish this. When they bust in, they just miss her, and she leaps through the portal, and they realize that, they probably learned how to tap into Jimmy's dream world. We then find out that ends up with Steve and Sharon in their bedroom. Steve is pretty much brooding about what to do, and they decide that they're gonna sleep on it and figure it out tomorrow. Sharon wakes up, she wakes up in a dream, and Agent Bravo's there, codename Bravo's there, and he sort of because she looks like Peggy, he sort of makes out with her a little bit, and she's like, "This isn't my dreams. These aren't what I want." And codename Bravo leaves her. He's like, "I'll see you later." When she wakes up, Steve is putting on his costume. He's like, "Is everything alright?" She's like, "Bravo was in my dreams." And you see a giant red hand grab Steve, and you see the Ameriroid, I think it was called, Ameriroid. Basically the giant Captain America robot that's yelling at Steve Rogers and telling him, it's all his fault, and he's to have his revenge, and that's when the show ends. So this issue actually is a very good, builds a lot. So story-wise, Brubaker builds upon everything very well. Um, there's not much else to go. He builds up. We learn about Jimmy Jupiter, and I already said I like that character a lot. Just the idea that not many, like, even in Marvel, there's not many people who can alter reality, and even this, like, the ability to like, he has his own world that he can play with, and that's every child's dream. Like, he had the ability that all children wish to have, to create whatever they wanted and bring it to life, which is, I think, Ed Brubaker did a great job of implementing in this book. Um, Not only that, just the backstory. I mean, just yeah, the story builds upon itself very nicely, and that's not really what people look for. Regardless, like, they want continuity, they want a good story, and this is a great story. This is a good way to continue it. Once again, the problem I have is character introductions. There's not many. They introduce Madame Hydra. Not many people realize who know who Madame Hydra is, and I wish they had a little, like, introduction page, or like they explain it. I mean, you can just look it up, but it's just a bit confusing for people who don't really know the mythos. Art wise, so issue 2, I don't like the cover for issue 2. It's like, it's just very weird looking. I don't particularly like it. I like Steve McNiven's art. He did the artwork, and he did the cover. I don't really like the cover, but the interior art is awesome. Um, my favorite part actually of the book is when Captain America jumps out the plane. He jumps out of a plane in the middle of the sky, lands on a car. He throws a shield. It's just like, this is what people want to see from Captain America. Throwing his shield around, jumping, doing super soldier stuff, like surviving like incredible odds, which is something like they should have done in the movie. I feel, like, that scene where he goes to rescue Bucky. He has a parachute. I felt that it would have been more impressive if they showed off him doing more super soldier things, like jumping out of a plane without the parachute and just, whooping ass with the shield. They sort of did the shield part, but not the parachute part, which I hope they do in the Avengers movie. Like, show him doing more shield stuff, like more impressive things as Captain America, because he can take like a hit from the Hulk, so he's a, like, I hope they do something crazy with it. Other than that, yeah, his artwork's very good. He draws Steve very well. I like the way he draws Nick and Dum. They're old, but like they've used the Infinity Formula, I believe, so that's why they're still alive. They all have these aged look in them, regardless. Like Cap, Nick, and Dum Dum, regardless of their age. Like Cap especially has this aged look to him. Like, he looks young, but he still has this aged look in his eyes. You can sort of tell, and McNiven develops like the this very well in his character. Um, so this issue I'm gonna give it a 4 as well. It's a great building issue for Captain America, especially for number 2 issue. Usually, and this arc is gonna be very long. There's already about 4 issues out, and 5 and 6 are coming out at the end in December, I believe. So this arc is gonna be very long. So yeah, 4 out of 5. Thanks for watching. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm gonna be doing the next 2 issues in, I don't know when, but soon. Let me know what you think about this. Give me subscribe if you like the videos. Watch my other videos, and just let me know what books you're reading. I would love to know your opinions on them. Leave me a response if you like. Thanks for watching, guys.